Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. It's your one-stop shop for everything going on with the Burgundy and Gold. I'm Bob Matthews. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And as we get ready for Thursday night football, in case you didn't hear, Jayden Daniels popped up on the injury report. Don't be too concerned with that. I'm not real concerned with it right now. The NFL injury report is a really funny thing. There was probably, if I had to guess, there was some reason, maybe because he had treatment on his right wrist that they had to put him on the injury report. But he was a full participant in practice. If teams fudge that, if they don't go by the exact letter of the law, they can open themselves up to a big-ass fine on things like that. Dan Quinn said at his press conference on Tuesday he has literally zero concern about it. I mean, okay, he didn't tell us exactly. He didn't go chapter and verse on the injury, but said he has absolutely no concerns about Thursday. And Jayden met with reporters after practice today, and it was such a non-issue that he wasn't even asked about it. I mean, there was no cast, no, brace of any kind on his wrist. So whatever it was, I really am sure that the club was just kind of having to, do that to go through the motions of whatever, one action spurred another. I think he's absolutely fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with him. He's a full go for this week. Again, and that's a good thing because they are definitely stepping up in competition. The Packers, a 3.5-point favorite at Lambeau. As you are listening to this, no doubt the team is probably in Wisconsin now, getting ready for a walkthrough on late Wednesday, so they can get preparation for the game. And for all of you, I know if you're like me, you generally hate it when your team plays on Thursday Night Football because, quite frankly, what the hell are we going to do on Sunday then? But if since everybody does have to play at least once on Thursday, better to get it out of the way now, while everybody is still relatively fresh and you've had all summer to, kind of quasi-game plan for this one. Hopefully, they're not affected too much by it. Would much rather do it now rather than midway through the season. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was nominated for Rookie of the Week. Bill, off of the 10-carry, 82-yard performance, one of 7 rookies that was nominated. We will see a little bit later this week if he is the one that wins the vote for it. Just thrilled with the way that he played. He is the reason that they were able to trade Brian Robinson right before the season started. And going back over the coach's tape again, you really see why. I mean, he hits the holes very, very decisively, very quick, runs angry. Everything you heard throughout training camp, he definitely does. I'm going to be interested to see, Austin Ekeler started on Sunday. Be interested to see who actually gets the start Monday night. Obviously, Ekeler is going to get his carries because he's such a valuable part of the offense, but would not surprise me if Merritt is the guy that actually winds up taking the first snaps of the game at running back. Now, talking about, a team that, you are stepping up in competition against, looking at Jordan Love's numbers, this is a guy that's on a roll. Had a really good game against the Lions. He's going to put a lot of pressure on the secondary. I'm really interested in this matchup, the Packers offense versus the Commanders secondary. You remember how much of a problem the secondary was last year, so much so that Adam Peters made the Marshawn Lattimore trade at the trade deadline last year, thinking that even Lattimore at 70% was better than what they had in the defensive backfield last year. Now, we saw on Sunday how good this backfield played with Lattimore being healthy and with Trey Amos out there and Mikey Sanders still out there. Jordan Love, obviously, much, much better quarterback than Russell Wilson at this point in their careers. But I'll be interested to see what the trade-off is because as ineffective as Wilson was, as effective as we think Jordan Love's going to be, Jordan Love doesn't have the kind of deep threats that the Giants had. So while Love's a better quarterback, I think it's actually going to be easier for these guys to cover the Packers receivers. And we saw that Joe Witt loves to play man-to-man. So really going to be interesting to see how that one pans out. But Love coming off a really strong game against the the Lions. This guy that led his team to an 11-6 regular season record last year. So we are going to find out a lot about this secondary here on Thursday night. Although, very optimistic about it and think they're going to do okay. Finally, we got to hit the mailbag here. As always, we appreciate you guys dropping comments in the comment section. Feel free to do it again after watching this if you want to. We try to read them as often as possible. So shout out today to Scott Dean 5024, who says, I think the Packers will put Parsons over Connerly most of the game. He's got to be ready for Parsons. I am glad you brought that up, Scott. I wanted to talk about Micah Parsons. Yeah, I think they probably will. Although I got to tell you, I know that, Connerly was the one that was credited with giving up the 2 sacks on Daniels, one of which wasn't really his fault. But I went back and watched the tape, and yeah, you can't deny the fact that you had those two sacks coming, from the right tackle position. But other than that, I thought Connerly played a pretty good game. He graded out, better than say, another young lineman over on the other side in Brandon Coleman. I thought Connerly played pretty well, and that was going up against Brian Burns, not an easy task. So at least it's not going to be like, he was going against a couple of scrubs there in week 1, and all of a sudden the talent level goes way up in week 2. I think that Burns was good training for Parsons. I think that if you go back and watch the Lions game, there was a lot of double teaming, a lot of chipping. I think they're going to do a lot of that. I would hope they do a lot of that Thursday night. And I got to tell you, Parsons was kind of quiet pass rushing. The 1 sack was a good sack, no doubt. Not taking anything away from that. He chased Jordan Love down chased Jared Goff down from behind. But aside from that, they were able to keep him pretty well under control. He's still got that back issue, I think, that he's working through. Hopefully, for the Commanders' sake, the Packers will have him on a pitch count again, since it is a short week. And if they can mitigate Parsons' effect on the game, I think you can see this offense get rolling again relatively quickly. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Again, we will have a preview of the game tomorrow. Let me know. I tell you what. Let me know this. What's your biggest key for the Commanders coming away with a Thursday night win on a road? Drop it in the comment section. We will talk about it tomorrow. See you then. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.